Panorama. We've got the improved production sports cars heading out in just a moment as well. And those beautiful drone shots. I know the boys mentioned it earlier on in the day, but the campgrounds are filled this weekend, and we've got such a huge support category build that we've had to move some of those support classes up towards that campground paddock area as well. This is going to be a bit of trouble though, because one Mr. Matt Nolte is joining me in commentary for this one. Good afternoon to you, Knuckles.
Hello, sir. Good to be alongside you. We don't get to do this too often, calling sessions together, but you're right. How good. The atmosphere is huge here this weekend, and those campgrounds just continue to swell here on your Easter long weekend. Beautiful blue skies, and like so many of these support categories, this is another capacity one. Nearly 50 cars for heat number 2 of the Autosport IPRA Bathurst Cup. Nice to bring a bit of a speedway thing.
I was about to say that. It's like taking us back to the Speedway days. Heat 2, top 4 transfer.
Exactly. Can't wait for the pole shootout later today.
That's right.
They'll have another heat later on this afternoon, of course. Race tomorrow morning for the Bathurst Cup here. Cars from right across the country. Top heavy with the over 2 litre cars, but the under 2 litre cars have been very strong after qualifying in race number 1 yesterday. That's where we should be, underneath the gum trees up there on the mountain. What a place.
To imagine it. And not to mention some of the wineries going up Mountain Straight as well. It'd be love to be perched right underneath that TFHI bridge, I reckon. There.
Perfect spot.
Oh, one day. We can only dream at the moment. But I tell you what, I reckon we're going to have a good spot for this one, because no matter where you look, I think the great thing about this class is they all achieve their speeds at different points of the racetrack, which makes for great racing.
Yeah, and a whole mixture of cars out there, from Holdens and Toyotas right down to Nissan Silvias, BMWs. There's even an Audi floating around there as well. A Mitsubishi Sports, you've got Nissan Pulsars, and cars dating back well over 30 years in this field. You're right, some will achieve their best speeds and time across the mountain on those high horsepower Commodores and the like. Will stretch their legs down the Conrod Straight into the chase. So if you're in a smaller car, you'll do all your work up here and then get eaten alive going down Conrod Straight.
Of course, a lot of these cars really started as road-registered vehicles before ultimately progressing on to what you see now as real thoroughbred race cars. And for a lot of people, particularly one Jordan Cox, he made his name in this particular class many years ago up here at Mount Panorama. The incredible shots of him going around the outside in that Civic back in the day there at McPhillamy Park. I mean, look at what he's gone on to achieve now in motorsport here in Australia.
Improved production, very strong in this part of the world. New South Wales and Victoria have had some really great names come out of over the years. We've had some cars come up from Tasmania to be here. We've got cars from the Northern Territory that are getting some time, and who wouldn't pass up an opportunity to come and race here? Doesn't matter if it's your first time or your 50th. It still brings that smile to your face when you drive into this track, and for a lot of these drivers, you don't get an opportunity to do this. Imagine being in other sports. You don't get to just run out onto the MCG whenever you feel like it. You can bring any kind of car here and go racing. You don't have to be at the 1000. It doesn't have to be the 12-hour, but they get their shot. They live and breathe for this moment.
It doesn't matter who you speak to, and there's going to be so many cases. I reckon if I had $1 for every time someone said I'm living my dream this weekend, I'd have more money than Elon Musk, and probably wouldn't be tariff affected either. Let's run you through your starting grid here for this one. Adam Poole, he was your Nationals champion in 2023. We'll start from position number 1. It's an all Monaro front row with Adam Garwood alongside him.
Chris Brown and Luke Retcumbo start on the second row today. Ian McLennan and Ben Sheedy, keep an eye on him in the Holden Commodore starting on the third row. Mark Tutton and Tony Maloney start out of 7 and 8 today. Scott Cook and Royce Line in our BMW E30 starts out of position 10 today.
He was up here in a GR86 Cup car in October, so he's back into his normal wheelhouse of a BMW as well. Plenty of BMWs through this particular field that you watch for, and so many different variations of cars from Civics, Holden Commodores too. Plenty to talk about over the course of this race, and it's going to be roughly a 15-minute timed race as well by the time they get back to the start-finish line to ultimately start this race.
Yeah, it was to be extended to 25, but with a sea of red flags, which we were expecting, weren't we, from the moment practice started yesterday. It's eaten into a bit of track time. We need to stay on schedule today with qualifying to come up after this. The High-Tech Oils Bathurst 6-hour. The Trico Trans Am 45-minute race will follow that, and a whole list of undercards to come right through until well after 5 p.m. here on Easter Saturday as we look at the famous Mountain Straight and the campgrounds. The cars making their way down for this second heat of the Autosport Bathurst IPRA Cup.
Speaking of the categories this weekend, you were up on the wheel in Trico Trans Am earlier. That was
How could you not?
Oh, it was a fantastic qualifying session, some lightning quick lap times as well. and looking forward to their race a little bit later on this afternoon. But before that, we've got this one as well. So Paul will bring that car towards the number 1 grid slot. Funnily enough, we've actually had to add some grid slots there to go to 72 tomorrow for the High-Tech Oils Bathurst 6 Hour. That was freshly painted during the week.
If memory serves me right, it got to 68.
Correct.
And they went out there during the week and added another couple of rows out there. Halfway up, it's almost in front of our hotel area there, at the ridges up towards the High-Tech Oils Bridge. So around they come. And the key here, like every category this weekend, is get through the first lap without any carnage. The category prior to this managed to do that. They had a very clean race, because it's a long way to come for all these drivers to do a couple of laps or sit behind a safety car. They want to get some significant track time here, but they've also got to keep an eye on getting points to get high up the grid for the Bathurst Cup. 100 points to win each of these races, 8-point drop away to second, and this will ultimately, after the final race later today, set the grid for tomorrow's finale. Still
lighting up there as they'll do so, just about almost around the corner there at Hell Quarter as well. There's that beautiful shot looking down the High-Tech Oils pit straight of the 2 Holdens sitting on that front row. Watch for Brown and Luke Gretsch-Cumbo off that second row as well. The thunderous roar is about to rock around here at Mount Panorama. We'll get set for a start here in a moment. Which one of these Commodores will get that run to position number 1? The Monaros on that front row as we go green for race number 2 of the weekend for your Autosport Impera Bathurst Cup. And it looks like it's Garwood that gets that jump around the outside of the front row. And Luke Gretsch-Cumbo is going to work his way through as well. It's a Monaro sandwich as they work their way up Mountain Straight for the first time.
Almost could have been a highlight of a 6 Hour from many years ago, the way they launched. And they're still coming past us on the main straight into turn number 1. But a fairly clean start as the first 3 start to pull away from the field and up toward Griffins for the first time. I'm watching towards the back of the pack. It seems that we're carnage free as we climb up through Griffins Bend for the first time. No laps on this one. It's a time race of which 14.5 minutes plus 1 lap remain as they climb up to the Worth Cutting for the first time.
Tony Maloney there was getting hung out a little bit in that Holden Commodore, the VF version, as they work their way through the steepest part of the racetrack, through the cutting and up towards Sulman Park. Love that sound. It's great, isn't it? So many different variations that we'll see here over the next 15 minutes. Garwood already starting to pull away out in front here, near enough to 0.4 of a second the margin from first back to second as they'll work their way across McPhillamy Park. There was a car then that was veering towards the wall on the right hand side, and I dare say probably made contact there with the concrete too.
So down the hill for the first time. So Tutton starting to stack the field up there in that 1990 HRT throwback livery down the hill. So Garwood, who finished second and doing double duties for the Trico Trans Am Series 4 Maverick performance this weekend, the reigning Touring Car Masters champion, leads us through, but Tutton has them all blocked up with McLennan, House and Ben Sheedy. Behind them, Tony Maloney and Cook riding out the top 10, but they're losing touch with the first few cars. More carriages joining the high-speed train down Conrod Straight.
Working that toe as well, going down the very fast point of this racetrack. You don't want to be side by side if you're in the 2 Holdens there. And look at this battle up in front, because it is tightened up now. Garwood has got his work cut out with him, with Paul in behind. Of course, Paul, your 2023 national champion. He went to defend that crown last year as well. Looked good, but unfortunately had some troubles on that particular day and lost that national crown. But I tell you what, he is going to be one hungry man to try and get that top spot back now as we start lap number 2.
And 3 seconds is the gap as he challenges the lead down here at Hell Corner. They'll go side by side. Oh, just gave him enough racing room through turn number 1. So playing for sheep stations, this is why it's a heat race. There will be intensity. And look at them stretching their legs up Mountain Straight. The battle of horsepower here on lap 2.
The Monaros going at it here on Mount Panorama, and it looks to me like it's Paul that's got the job done on driver's left. And we'll see now if he can try and pull away out in front. If anything, he's probably put 2 car lengths now between himself and Garwood as they work their way now up into the cutting. The margin, incidentally, from second back to position number 3 has been extended to 3.6 seconds, so it's a race of 2 out in front at the moment.
Chris Brown running a race on his own there, the South Aussie, in that beautiful Toyota AE86, the AE86 version. Out there, an iconic car with Newlands supporting him. 3rd position, while Tutton still has him queued up behind. Across the shelf, here on the 2nd lap. And good to see some clean racing out there. But you get the feeling this group we just watched go through the shot, that'll get hotter as this race goes on, as they climb through Sulman Park and towards John Hinksman Vista on this second lap.
Of course, for Brown, a former race winner at the streets of Adelaide as well some time ago, up against the concrete there. So he's got plenty of experience and showing that right now in position number 3. How's this though? It's almost like you've got to walk your way down into the S's and ultimately in the dip up. Tutton from McClellan in behind, Maloney, House, Sheedy as well. It's a good battle, but they're pretty nice about it so far as well. Not launching down the inside because it's very much single file formation as you work your way down the mountain.
That HRT car's too scary for mine to grease the panel or take any paint off it. The man that calls this track his own, he lives 25 kilometres from Mount Panorama and treating this like a bit of a Saturday afternoon cruise, but maybe needs to look in the mirror and say, hey, some fast guys wanting to get past you on the way down to the chase on the second lap.
I don't know what your version of a cruise is, but this certainly isn't for my mind. This is a flat-out sprint at the moment with 10.5 minutes remaining here in heat number 2. With your Autosport Impra Bathurst Cup, hope you're enjoying the coverage as we work our way towards qualifying for the High-Tech Oils Bathurst 6 Hour. We watch Cook here now on the back of Sheedy. They'll work their way down into Murray's corner again. And if anything, McClellan here just slightly covering Maloney here into the final corner.
Yeah, good call. They come through the final turn to complete another lap. So Paul leads from Garwood, 1.6 seconds in the fastest lap of the race now. Challenge on in the background here. I think that's Cook trying to make the move. So the South Australians really invading that top 10, if you like. Oh, but I just put the mocker on him coming out of hell corner. Stepped out, laid a licorice strap on the curb and keeps on going as he goes up into 9th place, passing Sheedy down there.
He might have mistaken this place for Murray Bridge Speedway. It's Mount Panorama here on your Saturday afternoon. And he's actually going to lose that spot once again, so the battle continues here. Sheedy will have the outside, hold your breath moment through Griffin's Bend. We've said that before. And the sideways action continues as Sheedy had it almost on the lock stops then that time by. Holds on to the Commodore. My goodness me.
Sheedy was on the other side of the crown of the road then, and you're in no man's land. But this is what washed all the speed off for Cook, and it killed his top end speed. So instantly he went to cover off and made the 5 go around the outside of Sheedy. And see, just right in the middle there is where the road cambers off. And he was so lucky that didn't turn into a taint slapper through Griffin's Bend.
Did a great job in saving that, didn't he? Because it's tough to do there as we go back further on through the field. Royce Lyon here looking down the inside. That's challenging to do it there in his BMW. Of course, that family been running BMWs now for such a long time. The last time he was here was in a GR86 as part of the GR Cup here in October. But back into something that he's more familiar with. Great young man, and he's enjoying his time here at Mount Panorama this weekend as we've got yellows waving down there heading into the Dipper.
So it's somewhere between there and the elbow. Haven't seen a car so far, but that'll get the driver's attention as out of the elbow we come. Still 8.5 minutes of racing. It starts to intensify. Every point critical with another heat race to come up later today. And those overall points will set the grid for tomorrow. Down Conrod Straight. High speeds into this very fast right-hander.
I love Maloney then having to give a little tap of the brake as well to make sure there's enough pressure by the time he puts that foot on the brake pedal. What is the hardest stop, and around unfortunately for Tutton loses that, and everyone else having to take a void in action as well.
He parked the car on that clean-up material on the way in. I saw the car squirm a bit, and ultimately it's going to drop him half a dozen, maybe more positions. Here it is on the replay coming in. See, just got a bit of that clean-up material. Watch the way he gasses out and gone.
Everyone else did a really good job to avoid, because the dust there would have been very hard to see through the exit of the chase, and thankfully enough there was no other cars involved in that. If anything, House has actually been the big winner of all this in the BMW. He's up to position number 6 now, as Maloney's having to do all that work once again as they head up Mountain Straight once again with still 7 minutes remaining.
So he's made up 5 positions, although we don't know how many cars he's actually passed to get to that position. They've all been parting in front of him here. Up into 6th position. So Paul from Garwood, the gap is blown out to 4 seconds, and the only car in the 2-minute 19 range. Brown runs in 3rd position. Gret Cumbo back in 4th spot. Then McLennan, House, Tony Maloney, Cook, Sheedy, and Lehman is now the top 10. Burks is the best of the under 2 litre cars, back in 15th ahead of Kurt McCready in 16th position. But a long way away from the leading group of cars as they climb towards Worth Cutting for another lap. This is the 4th lap of this 15-minute plus 1 lap race.
It's gone quickly. Imagine being in the race seat as well. Probably actually feels like forever because they've been fighting out so much, particularly in that mid-pack as well. Paul continuing on that speed out in front. 5 seconds now, the margin. Incidentally, he broke the lap record here last year as well with a 2:18.1, so he's a little far off at the moment with a 2:19.8 from what he did here 12 months ago. But out in front, when you've got a 5-second lead, you certainly don't need to push it quite as much. Geez, how's the battles deep in the pack? You think they're fighting for the World Championship right now, not just the Bathurst Cup.
And always an RX-7 in the field. Just annoying the cars around. One of the Queensland drivers is Arena out there in the 29 automotive entry. The 79 spec RX-7 that's got a field of cars queuing up behind him while he's catching one of the Commodores just ahead. Just a bit of cloud cover over the top of the mountain now. Could be a big, big winner for qualifying for the High-Tech Oils Bathurst 6 Hour very, very soon. Incredible weather all week long.
Oh, yeah.
And what a contrast it's been. Remember a few years ago, we had to get out of here because of floods. And it's very, very dry here in 2025.
Well, it's incredible. You come here in April and you often think that the temperatures should be quite low, but we're still looking at a top temperature of around 28, 29 degrees tomorrow, not to mention today as well. So very warm conditions, and particularly when you speak of the High-Tech Oils Bathurst 6 Hour. Not great for some of those turbo cars,
No.
which we'll see as well. But yeah, great conditions this weekend. I know there is the very slightest chance of a shower late tomorrow afternoon. And if it's a slight chance of a shower at Bathurst, it's probably going to absolutely hail. Speaking of drama, though, it's all going on deep in the field here, Nolts.
That was Lenthal on the number 1 BMW. Almost got it done, but they almost made contact at the RX-7. He's trying again down here at Hell Corner. Leaves the door open enough, but that's going to wipe off his speed and bring that third car into position. Now, this is the way to chase him. On the way up Mountain Straight, looking at the very busy campgrounds in 2025. So the RX-7 just stretches away again like a rubber band. But keep an eye on that Bimmer as it climbs towards Griffins. That's where he comes into his own.
Isn't it great how, you know, the RX will go quite well down the straights, but it's going to struggle across the top of the mountain. And you know that these cars in behind will certainly close in. There's Burks in behind here with Lenthal as well. Love the rear wing on the Burks machine. Don't know how much extra downforce that's going to bring you, but unfortunately for Lenthal, just locks up that left front then heading into the cutting.
Oh! Sorry to jump in. That is an enormous shunt at Sulman Park. There's barely a car width, and that's further up the road. That's Ben Sheedy that's involved, and now the BMW makes contact. Heavy, heavy crash for the BMW on the right-hand side. And a 3-car shunt with barely enough to get a car through. These guys battling inside the top 10, in fact as high as 5th position, and instantly the safety car has been called. My goodness, there's a lot of damage up there.
Some onlookers there. Tony Quinn, Grant Denyer as well. Yes, hello boys. Looking on, but a nasty one there at the top of Mount Panorama. Obviously went safety car conditions straight away, and look at the debris strewn across the racetrack, not to mention all 3 cars there as well as some of our safety crew straight onto the scene.
Commonly we've seen 1 car hit the wall left-hand side, but I haven't seen 3 cars going up there like that in a very long time. And instantly the crash crew on the scene, and it'll bring the field under the safety car. We're in the closing 2.5 minutes, so one would think this is going to finish as it stands. But Ben Sheedy up there, who finished 3rd last year in the over 2 litre class, picked up his first win in the category and a clean sweep in the division. But a lot of damage to his Blue Sky Commodore. BMW stuck heavy damage to that car as well up against the wall.
And really that was only just in front of the battle that we were watching at the time as well. So we're hearing that checkered flag will be flown this time by. And that will give the race win to Poole once again.
That's a good sign. Drivers are climbing out. But look at the damage to the left rear on the Blue Sky Commodore. And our safety car have stopped the field, in fact, up the top there, because there's a lot of glass and a lot of debris up there. So safety car has stopped for the time being to at least make a clearer, safer path to get the cars through. The checkered flag has been waved to end this race with Paul, Brown and Garwood. Here's the replay at the top of Sulman Park. So the Holden had lost it of Maloney and backed into the wall again. It's that blind approach, and again, unlucky. Sheedy did his best here. He did absolutely all he could to avoid there in a blind approach, and the BMW arriving on the scene late. Huge damage to both those cars, and look at the four.
Nice line.
Holy moly.
That was seriously close. I tell you what, that was lucky that we didn't have even more cars involved in that one as well. Scary stuff.
The BMW clipping the other Holden on the right-hand side, and that will bring this race to an end, with Paul leading that race by a pretty hefty margin when the safety car was called. From Brown, Garwood, and Luke Gretsch-Cumbo in fourth position, McLennan, then Cook. More than likely go back to the last completed lap for this result, so it might help those guys at least get some points, but will those cars be okay for the third heat? That is the big question today. All three have climbed out, which is a great sign, and the field make their way back into pit lane. Red flagged and checkered flagged at the same time in Heat 2 of the Autosport IPRA Bathurst Cup. Heavy damage here on the mountain.
It's going to take a lot of work to get those cars back out onto the racetrack, not just for this weekend, but for the rest of their working life in many regards. So Adam Poole got the job done in the end from Chris Brown. Adam Garwood, position number 3. Luke Gretsch-Cumbo and Ian McClellan in the end, completing the top 5 from Scott Cook. Royce Lyon, who just got away with it in the end, in position number 7. Brent Lehman, Nigel Williams there, completing the top 5 as we, 9 I should say, as we turn over the page. Matthew Burke's right in the mix. Kurt McCready's been up here for many years as well in that Nissan. He was position number 12, but scary stuff in that one, Knuckles, but it was good to see Adam Poole though out in front, getting the job done, and 2 from 2 now so far for him this weekend.
Of course, those official results unofficial until we get clearance from Motorsport Australia race control. So at the moment, Burks would win under 2 litre from McCready. They were 9th and 10th. So we have a look at what started out to be a really clean race in the Autosport IPRA Bathurst Cup. And the field of 47 took to Hell Corner and played nicely, at least the first few laps.
It was Luke Gretsch-Cumbo, wasn't it, that was looking good on that opening run through turn number 1, having a look towards the outside, but couldn't quite make it work, and there was troubles going on deep in the pack. Wherever you looked, there was action aplenty, and particularly towards the front as Cook had to battle hard and got his sideways action on as well, and further up, just up the road. In fact, at Griffiths Bend, more sideways stuff. It was great to watch. Great car control from them as well, but unfortunately not great on the other hand for some of those further up the field down to the chase.
That was Tutton unloading himself down there from a top 5 result in the VL, but this was the moment of the race. Up the top of the mountain here, Tony Maloney losing on the way to the top, and arriving on the scene was Ben Sheedy. Did all he could on the binders, heavy contact to the left rear, and then from nowhere the BMW arrived on the scene, and that is a very sad sight for the 9 car down there of Jason House in the Smith. Oh my, that BMW, if that doesn't go viral on social, I'll give it away. Seriously, he arrived at race pace. Another BMW got to the top of that scene and managed to make contact with both those cars, but the red flag would come out and a checkered flag on a shortened edition of heat number 2 in the Autosport IPRA Bathurst Cup. They'll be back later today, Wacker, for the final heat race, and then we'll know how the grid stacks up for the all-important Bathurst Cup tomorrow morning.
And that will come your way at 6:35 local time here for heat number 3, and that'll be just before we wrap things up with the Australian